That is a yes. Good questions.
Hey, Buzz, in light of, the fact that y'all played Oregon and Ohio State and Creighton and Purdue, does it seem, I don't know if imposing is the word I want to use, but odd that now you're getting to the strong part of your schedule?
Yeah, I thought we were done. I spent most of Christmas and a little bit even since Christmas just trying to study the league a little bit, try to get a feel for numerically a lot of the things that I hear you guys ask that I never get a chance to see. It's mind-boggling if you really look at it. And like now that non-conference is over, all of the analytics involved with every single team and who their mirror opponents are. They're saying that as of today, 8 of our 18 games will be Quad 1A. Not Quad 1, Quad 1A. It's just, I don't think it's ever happened before, and I understand the net's still semi-new historically, but incredible. And to your point, Olin, I think you never know, but some of the reps that we did have in the first 9 weeks of the season, there's risk involved in playing so many road games, so many neutral site games. But some of the reps that come from what's required in that, obviously we're not doing it for the first time this week or next week, right? We've done some of it. And so I think that there's some value in that for sure.
Buzz, what's a favorite early memory growing up in the state? Favorite early memory of
Yeah,
Longhorns?
yeah. Thanks for asking. Gep, who I don't have any friends, but I see him a lot because we train, or he trains me in the morning, and now I make Rock come, and so Gep, born in Indianapolis, moved to California. Eventually moved to Utah, went to school in Arizona, went to college in Arizona. His dad was in the media. And so he was moving based on the media. And his first time coming to Texas was when TCU hired him. He's married, his wife. Her parents were JUCO coaches, husband and wife, at 5 different junior colleges. So the connection of Texas and junior college with them has been really fun. And he's asked me several times, not just this week, about what do you remember? And, I think a part of it, Brent, I grew up in such a small town that Texas A&M and the University of Texas, it might as well have been New York City. Now, if you said University of North Texas, that was a big deal. But if you said Grayson Community College, yeah, that's where we were all going to go to school. But the smart ones, if everything worked out good and they could go to the University of North Texas, like that was in Van Alstyne, that was like, you're gonna go to Denton. They got red lights over there. And so I also think I feel unbelievably grateful and humbled by all of it. But I've had this conversation with my oldest daughter. No stoplights, 43 kids in my class, and my second best buddy was killed by a drunk driver 2 months before graduation. Made my decision on where to attend college because I had to pay my way. Chose Navarro only because one of the people that I work for, his dad had a lake cabin 42 miles away from Navarro. That's how I chose to go to school, because I was paying cash to go to school. But from a basketball standpoint, be a manager at a junior college, that was a big deal. Like, that was huge. I'd never seen players like what were at Navarro in District 11 2A. And then went to OCU as a manager. And they gave Coach Case, who's now an assistant at Ole Miss, they gave Coach Case a car, and I had to wash his car every Friday afternoon. And I remember thinking to myself, as a small town graduate, what a small lens that I had, that I thought coaching at Navarro would be like a dream come true. Why didn't I want to coach NAI? They give the coach $55,000 in a car. And so I think my paradigm has always been so small, Brent, that when you ask me, hey, did you ever go to a game at G. Raleigh White? Never heard of it. Hey, what about the Frank Irwin Center? Man, I never went to Austin in my life. Like that was too far removed from how I grew up. And so to be able to participate in some level, I view myself in that same small way. Hey, I'm going to try really hard today, and I hope that everybody we're associated with will try really hard. But like, what about the SEC, and what about Texas and Oklahoma are back? And I understand, but to kind of remove myself from it, it's hard to have the appropriate lens.
Maybe see any similarities of a kind of a Virginia Tech dynamic, or what does a rivalry, in-state rivalry like this do for the sport? I feel like?
Yeah, it's kind of like looking at the scores this morning. When you look at some of those Big Ten scores now, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot they're in the Big Ten. And I would say some of that we feel when you think about several years ago, Texas A&M joining the SEC. No, they're not in the SEC. They're in the Southwest Conference, turned Big 12. So, like, I think all of that is good. And I think all of that is going away in many respects. And so for the few that are able to, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, all of that, I think is healthy in a sport, in an industry where everybody's trying to figure out what is this going to become.
Coach, kind of jumping off of Olin's question, when you get to reflect on the non-conference portion of your schedule, how much do you feel like your team is prepared for SEC play, maybe in comparison to other years?
Yeah, that was kind of how I started my study on kind of a process of how I closed down non-conference, just from an analytical standpoint, but also from a coaching lens. I go through all of my notebooks. Each game has a notebook. There's certain things I do on certain days in that preparation. Just kind of, I never have that much time, but to be able to download all of that mentally, and then also take time to study what potentially is on its way over the next 10 weeks. I think the competition, the level of talent, the level of coaching, and the amount of preparation that was required to playing multiple 1 and 2 possession games relative to what I think potentially could transpire here in this league. I think there's going to be so many. Last year of our last 23 games, 14 were decided by 1 or 2 possessions. And that was last year. And I would say from a potentially 14 would be a low number, not just for Texas A&M, but for the other 15 members of the league. Like, it's about to be a 1 and 2 possession game, home or on the road, just because of the parity within the league.
This will be the first go around with the mandatory reporting system. Is this something?
Yeah, I know. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do, Travis.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me.
There you go. Generally speaking, is it something that you think is good, bad? What's your thoughts on implementing this now?
I've practiced really hard every time I've seen you on what I want to say, so that I don't create a false narrative and or I have arrogance in what I say. And I know that the only time that I've ever addressed you guys, there's only been 2 times in 6 years. One time was I had some math on why I thought we should be in the NCAA tournament, and that'll live in coaching lore for a while. And then I also addressed that I didn't want to talk about injuries. And that was based on what I had studied that summer, not only in college, but in professional sports. And I made that decision in an unemotional way and told you guys in mid-October, I just didn't want my name or our players or their parents or our staff. I didn't want to get mixed up in all of that. And I was able to have probably more intel than most basketball coaches relative to some of the things that had transpired in football and basketball. And I was just like, yeah, I just want to, it's kind of like social media. Like, I don't even want to tweet words anymore because of the things that people say. So I just tweet emojis, and now you can't say I did anything wrong. You know what I mean? And so I think we all know why we're doing it. And so my opinion doesn't matter. We're going to do exactly what we're supposed to do. And when I found out that's what we were supposed to do, I passed it off to Luke. And now Luke works for JMO. So I got to figure out where that is. Because I probably need to do something today, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Any,
Thanks for the reminder.
any,
That's not good.
as you scout, for lack of a better word, Texas, any similarities you see between y'all's two teams other than the records?
They are uber talented. They play with great pace. They have multiple guys on the team that do not need an action and or a ball screen to get a basket. And we will have to make really hard decisions in how we practice and in real time because they have multiple players who will play long after their career is over at Texas. And we haven't played a team this fast in a long time. We've played some, but not in the month of December. So we've got to get our motor back going a little faster than it's been going. And we've got to be prepared to play versus they're always going to have four guys. Most of the time they have five guys on the floor that if they have the ball in their hand, they can score and they don't need action to get to the shot. And so we can't really mimic that from a talent perspective. And Coach does a phenomenal job of putting them in their spots for success. And I think they keep getting a little better with each passing week.
As you've studied the rest of the SEC, just how much of the offensive production numbers stood out to you just across the board?
Yeah, and I similar, like just how I answered that question with Olin, like Texas's TVR is 40%. That is fast. And within how fast they are, they're the fourth most efficient team in transition. Well, that just means they're scoring at a very high rate. And like when you look at Texas and multiple other schools, like Oklahoma's offensive numbers, tremendous. Alabama's has been tremendous. They've almost become the benchmark. And Auburn's may be better than all of them. And I think that's why categorically the league is having the overall numbers. So we've spent some time over the last 9 days kind of dividing up who to study and how to study so that, you know, now that you're about to play 2 games a week, your amount of practice reps shrinks. And so you have to be almost football-esque, in my opinion, on your practice segments. What are you working on? And does it make sense not only for this game, but does it make sense for the rest of the month?
And you've given a lot of praise to Devin and just the defensive efforts throughout the non-conference
Yeah.
slate. Just what's it going to take to be able to maintain the stuff that you've guys been able to achieve, especially on defense particularly?
I think that if there was one lever that you could pull just based on what we've been studying that I think would help us the most defensively is we have to continue to do a better job on the defensive glass. Like any other factor that relates to your defensive ranking, our lowest by far, not close, is defensive rebounding. A portion of that is how we play defense. On the rise of the shot, we're trying to predict the type of shot that you're going to shoot and or potentially force you to shoot that shot. But because of our commitment to that on the rise of the shot. At the moment in time, the ball's in the air. We're behind from a defensive rebounding standpoint. And you could almost look at our defensive rebounding numbers with each passing year. It's almost parallel to our non-conference scheduling. It's got a little bit better, a little bit better, and a little bit better. We're never going to be the same from a defensive rebounding standpoint as we are from an offensive rebounding standpoint. And it's because of the commitment we make on both sides of the ball. I know it's the same players, but our decision before Texas A&M shoots it, we have a commitment on what we're going to do from an offensive rebounding standpoint. Defensively, because we don't know when you're going to shoot it, we're hedging our bet in that before you shoot it, we're going to predict that you're going to shoot this shot. And so we're never going to be top 50 defensive rebounding, but somehow we need to figure out a way to be top 100 if we can. And I think if we're top 100, is our defense ranked 5th? Is it ranked 4th as of today? It's hard to know, but that would be the one lever that I think we have to improve at.
Coach, obviously, the rivalry here, well.
What hat is that?
Worcester Red Sox, it's my hometown.
Say the first name?
Worcester.
Yeah, I went there one time. Is there a prep school there?
Worcester Academy.
Yeah, I like that coach.
Yeah, they got a lot of good basketball players out of there. Jared Jack went there. Sorry. Anyway, with the Texas Longhorns, Aggies, big rivalry there. Nobody in this program has been a part of that. Is there any sense that every game means something, but this one may have a little more juice to it for the guys?
Yeah, I think they're excited that to some degree that it's Texas. I think to some degree that it's the first one. I think to some degree that non-conference is over. It's like most under 25-year-olds, they're ready for the next thing. That we're starting at home is good. We haven't always started at home, and some of the years that we've started at home, we haven't started well. So I think there's a lot of that. I don't think that it's specific to the rivalry as much as it is they're aware. Those guys, not every player in our group is all-time ball, but there's a lot of them. We have a high percentage of them that are all-time ball, know what's going on in this league, this player, that coach. They know. And so a lot of our conversations are surrounding college basketball. But I think they're just excited for the opportunity, kind of all of it, not specific to one part.
Well, as you were here for maybe the most iconic moment in the rivalry, the shot, just what do you kind of remember about that game, that day, that shot, all that went into that?
Yeah, I remember all of it. I know I'm old now, but I remember all of it. What was the score, 46-43?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, AC Law is one of my favorite people ever. And that was then, and that is now. I would say that Joe, maybe, but he was a freshman. So I would be at the front of the line on every word ever spoken from your boss to a helper. That would be me. I got every word. And AC Law probably got every other word from a player standpoint. So AC and I were close by default. Twan was in there. Twan texts me all the time, came and watched us in Vegas. Yeah, I remember all of it. Obviously, I adore Coach Barnes. I know he taught his guys how to run me over, but I still have great respect for who he is and what he's done. I remember all of it. And I don't remember it because I thought it was going to turn into this, right? That was a special moment for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And so I think the possession before is that PJ Tucker, who may be the best defender ever. I think he dribbled the clock out, or there was some confusion, or I'm not trying to coach their team, but that was a good team. I think they went to the Elite Eight as Daniel Gibson was on that team. Is that right?
Can't recall.
Aldridge and.
Aldridge was on the team.
I mean, they were top 10. It was LaMarcus from Dallas Sigelville. We had just signed Sloan and D-Rowe. I mean, like, there's a lot of layers, like anything, right? A lot of layers, a lot of roots to all of it.
Touching
Little-
on,
A little out of left field, but I know you and Devin and Solo have some deep ties to New Orleans with events. Have you been able to, or have y'all had time to reflect on the city and anything like that?
Yeah, we prayed on it. We pray every day as a staff when we meet, and that was I let Devin pray yesterday, and that was the first thing that he prayed for. I think that's like as cool as this topic is on why we're having media availability. It's just one of, it seems like 100 that happen in my life, where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm glad that I get to do this, and I realize how fragile it is because of something like that. And then, you know, I hardly ever look at my phone now, and when I got home, I didn't even know it had happened. And so Corey said, "Did you hear about what happened in New Orleans?" No, what happened? And then something else happened somewhere else.
Vegas.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. So, yeah, I've talked to So about it, and obviously Devin, and I would say that their conversations have been more depth than me, but they know many people, and most of their family's still there. So obviously we're thankful that their families weren't involved, but praying for all of those that were and are.
Touching on Carter's question, looking back at your time as an assistant coach here, what's it like to have this rivalry back on campus and bringing the game back here in Austin, College Station?
Yeah, all of it's good. Every part of it. I think that, not that my vote matters, but I think geographically it makes sense that Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M would be in the same conference. How it all went down when Brent broke the story, and I can't believe the AD was there, and is that a conspiracy theory? And like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, there's all kind of stuff that goes with that. But do I think that this makes sense? Absolutely. And because there's fewer and fewer and fewer of them, I think not only to both institutions and their followings, it means a lot, but you don't get that very much anymore because of how all of this has played itself out.